We have a special guest from there. Now, Jason Greenblatt is certainly a name well known in this region. As the former assistant to President Donald Trump and special representative for international negotiations, and one of the principal architects of the Trump administration's proposed peace deal for Israelis and Palestinians. Today, he is a newly appointed partner for Our Crowd, which is the world's largest equity crowdfunding platform, and he joins us now from New Jersey. Jason, thanks for being with us. I just have to ask, you're in New Jersey. You're in one of the epicenter, really the epicenter in the U.S. of this coronavirus pandemic. I just want to get your impression of what it is like now being in that area.
Well, it's difficult, not for me personally. My family, my 6 kids, my wife and I, and my 91-year-old father have been locked down already for 2.5 weeks. We only go out a bit to the grocery or the drugstore if we have to. And I think I have to commend our township mayor, the town council, and the rabbinical council of Bergen County, who were on this very quickly, very early on. They closed down the town, they closed down the synagogues, and I think that's why, although it is spreading in Bergen County where I live, I think, many people have been hunkered down and safe. However, the news is very distressing. For those of you that watched the president's press conference last night, it is very serious in our area, very serious in parts of the country, and people are on pins and needles and very nervous.
Well, let me ask you, you raised the president. You recently wrote an op-ed, Jason, defending the White House response to the coronavirus. You're saying, quote, "I know my former colleagues at the White House and throughout the U.S. government. They are smart, hardworking, dedicated, and mission-driven. But you added that about the criticism being made of the Trump administration. It is often politically biased, unrealistic, agenda-driven, or speculative." I want you to ask you about that because there has been criticism that the Trump administration was too slow to act on this in this situation.
I stand by what I said, and I'm still confident in President Trump, the task force, Vice President Pence, and all those on the team who are working night and day to try to get our country through this. The president is essentially trying to avoid widespread panic while at the same time reacting to real news, real medical data, and information that he gets from a talented team of scientists and physicians, which means that things are going to change hourly, daily. He is going to react based on actual information. What I find interesting, and I watch the media all day, unfortunately, not a healthy thing, but I do it. And some in the media try to pin him down on certain questions. When is this going to happen? Why did you say what you said? Were you wrong? None of that is helpful information. What's helpful information is how do we keep America safe? How do we help our friends and allies and those suffering around the world to the extent we have extra capacity? How do we not keep this terrible economic effect from getting too far, too fast, if it doesn't need to be? How do we get supplies in the hands of everybody who needs it? How do we protect our frontline people, the physicians, the ambulance drivers, the grocery store people who are still working? We have so many people working hard through this crisis, and I think that is what the president is focused on. He's not focused on sound bites. He's not focused on criticism. What he's focused on is keeping people safe, trying to reduce the spread of the pandemic, but also keeping things running to the extent that's at all possible.
Right. Now, I want to ask you, as I mentioned, you are now working with Our Crowd, which focuses on funding, promoting new technology, maybe a special focus on Israeli technology. What role, in your new role, what role do you see technology developing that can help contain and maybe resolve and maybe prevent this pandemic, prevent another one like this from happening?
Well, I'm excited about working with Our Crowd and John Medved. I think it's sort of amazing to me how reactive they have been to not only try to help find solutions today to deal with the pandemic, whether it's distance learning, contactless diagnostics, things to help people get through this pandemic, but they're also very much focused on the next pandemic. We all know that this is not a one-time issue, whether it's coronavirus, which may appear again, or something else. We have now learned a very, very hard lesson throughout the world. None of us were prepared, and we need to prepare not only to get through this, but we need to prepare for the next pandemic, the next crisis. And I think Our Crowd and lots of technology companies around the world are now focusing on that. And I think it'll be a tremendous opportunity for investors, but I also think it's going to be very, very useful to the ordinary citizen like you and I and your viewers, because I think the next time around we will be far more prepared to deal with a crisis like this. Having said that, I do have to say I'm super impressed. You know, all 6 of my kids are learning from school. Each one of their schools and universities have been having online classes. There are lectures going on around the clock, which I'm so busy I don't have time to take advantage of most of them. But people have really stood up to the occasion on this country. I'm watching what's happening in Israel. I see what's happening throughout the Middle East. It's really very heartening to see the dedication that has come through from ordinary citizens to get through this.
Now, Jason, of course, Israel, this entire region is preoccupied with this coronavirus crisis. It's not focused on peacemaking. But I do have to ask, this week it looks like Israel will form its first real government since you introduced, or that plan that you helped craft was introduced. Do you see that as a development that when, for example, this crisis begins to recede, will open up maybe some opportunities for advancement on that peace plan you helped create?
I certainly hope so. It's a bit premature. I'm excited for the fact that the Israeli government will now be formed. I congratulate Prime Minister Netanyahu, Speaker Benny Gantz. And I think what we've seen is really strong cooperation between the Israeli government and the Palestinian Authority to work together to deal with this crisis. And I commend both of them, and I think that's a good sign. What I'd like to see, and I've been tweeting about it, is I'd like to see Hamas finally recognize that they have failed. They have failed the 2 million Palestinians suffering in Gaza. They will continue to fail. They shot off a rocket the other day. They need to understand that unless they work with Israel and the Palestinian Authority, the Palestinians in Gaza are at risk more than ever, and they need to figure out a way out of their terrible situation to stop threatening Israel, because they'll never achieve anything doing that. And they should work together with Israel and the Palestinian Authority and move things in a positive direction. It's going to take time. We need to be patient. But this is a great opportunity for us to understand this is a deadly threat to all of humanity. Israelis, Palestinians in Gaza, and the region. And I'm seeing a lot of very good cooperation, not just with the Palestinian Authority, but others in the region are interested in learning from each other to help get through this crisis.
All right, Jason Greenblatt, thank you for joining I-24 News, and good luck at our crowd.